My name is Dominique Camm, and I'm the author of this novel, Dirty Cycles. So today we're here to kind of talk about how this novel was formed, to give you some context behind it. I originally wrote it as a poem way back in 2005-ish. I was around 19 years old, and I didn't finish it all in one writing. I had writer's block, but at the same time, we got it done. Say 6 months or 9 months later, people thought it was a dope poem, so we kept it and we put it on the album. Now, a little bit about me to kind of make that context complete. So, I'm from the great state of Virginia. I went to the North Carolina A&T State University to become an engineer. Engineering wasn't my calling. I was winning these writing contests. I was performing spoken word. I knew I had a gift for persuasive writing. I was winning essay contests, writing for scholarships, all of this stuff. So, felt like as a writer, you'd waste that talent with engineering. So the summer of 2005, I want to say, I went down to Tallahassee, Florida for a summer camp. It was a pre-law summer camp. And at that camp, we had a lot of free time. We had class and all of that. Ain't much to do in Tallahassee. So the students who were there were from all over. There were people who were interested in becoming lawyers. It was a diverse crowd of people from all over. It wasn't just like Florida, it wasn't just Georgia. It was everywhere. And it wasn't um, just black people, it was people from all over, black, white, Asian, whatever, Native American, all of this program. So when I'm performing in front of a mixed crowd, mixed audience, you have all this diversity here. The question is, does the message still resonate in the poems the same way? Some things universal, some things may be cultural. Is your art transformative in a way that other people can appreciate it? Didn't know the answer to that question until we performed at a talent show, and we had some pieces that sparked conversation. People were receptive. They thought it was pretty dope. So gave me that confidence to keep working and keep writing and write more. But also at that camp, that's when I decided I was going to become a criminal defense attorney. So uh, during that program, we got to meet attorney Benjamin Crump. He spoke to the students. Uh, we've been doing research on different practice areas, and mine happened to be criminal law. Doing some research on statistics, and I started hitting them with the like, yo, with all of this disparity in criminal justice system, sentencing being longer, driving while black, all of these issues, like what are you doing to solve this problem? Like, how do we fix this? And he was just like, brother, like, if you feel that passionate about it, you need to become an attorney. So I was like that. He invited me to a meet and greet that he had for some of his, I guess, potential clients or current clients or whatever it was, don't remember. But after that meet and greet, myself and my friend Nero Allen, uh, we decided we were going to become attorneys. That was it. So came back from that program, got to writing some spoken word, some essays, just really going into my bag and working on my craft. Put together an album. This is my second spoken word album. It's called Statistical Anomaly. And a lot of people didn't get to hear it back in A&T because that was like my senior year. And I was in the process of trying to become an attorney, like studying for the LSATs, researching law schools, trying to find a mentor or mentee because, until that program, I wasn't interested in becoming an attorney. So through all that, with the LSAT, with the 21 credit hours, trying to make sure I can finish on time, running track, having a lady, all this stuff going on. I finished the album, didn't really pump and promote it. But the people who were looking for it, I gave it to them, let them listen. And a lot of my pieces on the first album were very autobiographical. The second album, though, was stories, but they weren't necessarily from my perspective. And so I posted a link, and some of the pieces are actually on the website. Keep in mind they're a little dated, 2005 and earlier. Um, but I wanted to share those just so you kind of get a sense of like these are things that were going through my head because I think I did add to some of the Dirty Cycles I was in that program, but also some of the other poems that you would hear. They kind of revolve around the criminal justice system, and that one of them was a story about two brothers, one on one side of the law, the other on the other as a defense attorney, and that conversation, how that could hypothetically go. One of them was a kind of a narration of a young lady's first time, which was not necessarily pleasant for her, first time having sex. And so that story, people were like, yo, I mean, you kind of talented because, dude, like, grown man, teenage grown man, writing about, like, the other side and what she's going through or possibly thinking. And that was a pretty dope concept. So I'm gonna post a link to that so y'all can decide for yourself. Give you that art. If you like it, cool. Got more of it. But back to the story. So Dirty Cycles, with all the stories, with all the joints that I love and put on that album, people were like, yo, Dirty Cycles is the one. So that was the name of the poem. I'm gonna give you a piece of that, maybe even put the whole thing on later. But that was kind of the concept behind it morphing into this novel. So that was 2005. I went to law school. Live life hard, ups and downs, depression, dealing with painkiller use, dealing with alcohol, uh, just struggling, trying to pay bills, all those things that come with uh, just trying to make it and claim your, whatever your stake is in life, just paying dues. So went through all of that, didn't write as much while I was in law school. Finished law school, became a lawyer, had like an early midlife crisis. Like, all right, cool. Everything you learn in law school is great, but how's this stuff work in real time? Like, law school is hypothetical. How does this thing really work? What's really going on out here when you come to the practice of law? What are people going through? Went through that journey, and then I left the city of Durham in 2012. Got a fresh start, started my life over, and decided to get back to what's important to me, what makes me feel good, which was writing and spoken word. And I wrote some stuff while I was in law school, but a lot of it was legal based. I'm like, don't nobody want to hear that. Like, that's boring. Everything you're talking about is a law. There's way more to that than just talking about these aspects of what's going on. Now, when I first started poetry, a lot of stuff was love poems because that's what a lot of dudes get into poetry for. You write the poems, you get the girls, they be like, oh, that's nice. You get a little following, blase, blah. And then sometimes people go out of it and do other stuff. Sometimes people don't. But love stories sell. That's important. Those are things that people can relate to. But what else happens in people's lives that kind of affect how they actually experience love, share love, go through love, and have relationships with other people? So, uh, kind of moved on from just doing it straight up like this is a love story to what are the other things, or a love story, uh, what are the other things that go along with this, and developing that content in the background that people sometimes overlook and kind of merge those things. But fast forward, moved down to Charlotte in 2012, started writing again, getting inspired, started performing, and then fast forward, Ben Crump appears back on the screen because the Trayvon Martin or George Zimmerman case, depending on what you feel, comes to light. And at this time, like that just kind of saturates the television, public media, whatever you want to call it. Like it's everywhere. Can't avoid it. And then having the personal experiences that I've had, and then seeing how people kind of commenting, sharing their opinion. And I thought there was a very simple way of seeing this, which is how wasn't George Zimmerman charged immediately? Like none of this kind of makes sense um, until you throw in the racial factor. But fast forward, like just seeing all of that saturated, it just was a lot. And so I just started working on cycles, and I put it down because it was just a lot mentally to kind of go through, and I didn't want to write it at the time. So it took a couple years to get back to it, started getting back on it, and then I had the birth of my first child, my daughter. And so with parenthood comes a lot of shared responsibilities, but also there's a natural maturations. Now I'm not a young dude, I wasn't a young dude when I had my daughter, but there's a lot of growing up that you still do, regardless of what your age is once you become a parent. You just kind of see things differently. So I think that some of that is also reflected in the book. Like, all right, you went from being at this stage of life to this stage to like where you are and how you view things as a parent. And I think that that kind of comes off in the book as well, and how you see yourself and self-assess based on what you see in your kids and what's important. So, with all that being said, I think that a lot of that comes off in the book and gives you something to think about beyond the other things that are at play. So, One of the things that is my biggest regret about this book is kind of not getting it done quicker. But I am a believer that everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why there's delays. There's a reason why stuff happens because a lot of the stuff that I had envisioned on putting in the book, if I'd have finished back in 2013 or 14, like y'all might be looking at me like this man imagination too wild. But since from 2012 to 2020, we've seen so many things that have happened in the news and across the country. Like it went from, this guy's imagining things and it's just creative, it's good creative writing to, this guy's just describing things, which I didn't want it to be a description. I wanted it to be like, this is kind of how I saw things potentially playing out in different realms. So we talk about opioid addiction, opioid use, and track. I'm sorry, I ran track at A&T, but just NCAA athletes and whether you get paid and have that experience where making all this money, but at the same time you can't eat and you have all these problems that can't be fixed. So that's in the like we talk on different social issues around affecting what happens with this man's life. And a lot of what I'm going through obviously is put into that, but also that perspective is kind of shared as well. So with some of those things happening where these conversations weren't taking place as frequently back in 2012 or 13. They may have been on the radar. Now those are things that are now in the more mainstream. So I kind of regret not getting it done early, but I also appreciate it because people can appreciate the conversation that I hope to inspire with some of the social critique in the novel. So as this man goes on this journey called life and boy meets girl. Boy has to make important decisions. Boy has people who interfere with his life. He kind of overcomes those obstacles and finds himself in a position fighting for his life. Hey, what does that journey look like? And so, uh, Raindrops from the Laundromat kind of has those feels and it explores that companionship between me and some of my close friends and kind of what we go through, we talk about, but also like the maturation process of going through it. I feel like that comes off because as time went on, I think my character somewhat grows and that's reflected. So I really do hope that you all enjoy the journey that this novel will take you on. I hope it brings some great discussions about. I hope it brings some self-reflection in your life. Um, there will be more to come. I definitely want to give you that context because it kind of the setting it's southern and kind of suburban, but also it's not modern day in the traditional sense. Like I'm writing about 2020. Want to make that clear. Like I'm writing more about an earlier time. We can call it 2000s, late 1990s, but like just an earlier time and kind of where we were back then versus where we are now. I know a lot has changed. I do hope that you kind of take this book, you love it, share it, you go on this adventure, and then you know that there's more adventures to come. Um, that's the novel, 30 Cycles, aka Raindrops from the Laundromat. I'm the author, Dominique Camm, aka Marcus Aurelius. Please read cover to cover, enjoy the journey, share with a friend. Appreciate you for taking time to listen to me talk for this 13, 14 minutes. All right. Also check out the spoken word links on the website. Appreciate it.